What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with my MLB Week 5 power rankings. And as you can see here, the Tampa Bay Rays, after a great week, are moving up 10 spots, while the O's are moving down 9 as things get worse for them. And you can see there the panic for the O's. Their pitching is awful. They're 7 games under 500. And not re-signing Corbin Burns shows why this franchise is not going to be good this year because they have no pitching. If they would have re-signed Corbin Burns, at least there'd be hope there. But Grayson Rodriguez is still hurt. Charlie Morton's awful. It just made too much sense for this team to re-sign Corbin Burns, and them not doing that. They're just failing all this young talent in the lineup because their lineup's great, but pitching is going to lose this team, if not already has, a lot of games. Now, the team that beat the O's and swept them were the Tigers. They're off to their best home start since 1911. They're 13 and 3 at home, 18 and 10 overall. They get the Astros the beginning of the week, and it's a big series for both of those teams. And with the Tigers, Javier Baez is hitting 301 through 78 plate appearance through, this amount of games, and that's a huge turnaround from what he's had the last few years. Moving to another AL team, you got Devin Williams, relieved of closer duties for the Yankees. It's going to be Luke Weaver that's going to be taking over. I wouldn't be shocked if Williams finds his grooves here and can regain that role. And then Logan Gilbert for the Mariners, placed on the 15-day IL with a hip flexor strain. Hopefully, it'll be a quick recovery for him, but that's a very serious injury. 26 through 30. And this is where you find those Orioles. They're all the way down here. They have a worse record than the Marlins and the Pirates, technically. I just think having the O's down here, it makes too much sense. They have 6 games at home. Maybe they can get back on track this week, but the Yankees coming to town doesn't help. And then the Royals are starting to figure it out now as well. So the O's could probably will be 10 games under 500 this time next week. And then you got the Marlins, Pirates. They fall back one spot because of some teams moving up. White Sox and the Rockies are awful. They are worse than I thought anyone would be. They might challenge the White Sox for the worst record of all time this year. It's that bad. 21 through 25. And the team that's moving up here, the Nationals, they go 2-1 against the Mets and the Orioles. Two out of the three, you can't beat that. 4-2 week, get them 2 games under 500. Got destroyed by the Mets though today. They go to Philly and Cincinnati, teams that are playing some good ball this week. So the Nationals, let's see if they can keep up their hot streak. Angels are falling back down to earth as usual. They have a good 2 week stretch to start the year, then just kind of coast the rest of the year. The Athletics are 500, playing some good ball, beat Texas in a series, and the White Sox. And now they go to Texas in a huge series early in the season. Playing 7 games against Texas, out of your 12 in the division. It's a big, big series this early. The Twins maybe are starting to figure it out. I think we're really going to find out this week. If they can go 5-2 this week, I think the Twins are going to be back, and then they're going to be in hitting their groove. Then the Cardinals, lots of questionable moves there, sending their top prospect down, who's hitting over 300. Make that make sense? It doesn't. That's just what the Cardinals are doing. They're failing these players. Jordan Walker, Mason Wynn, for example, just it's not working out for the Cardinals. Maybe need some new faces in there to change up a few things. But for right now, they're staying at 21. 16 through 20. The big losers here are the Brewers and the Blue Jays. Brewers going 2-5. Didn't win a series this week. Lost to the Cardinals on the road and the Giants. Blue Jays got swept in Houston and almost swept against the Yankees. But they both return home for some stands this week. Blue Jays, huge week for them. They get Boston and Cleveland, 2 teams in the AL that are better than them right now. They need to scrape out those wins. Brewers should take care of business against the White Sox, at least take 2 of 3. And then you got the Reds, like I was saying. They stay at 18. They swept Colorado, which isn't hard to do. It's a good series win because you need those wins, but going 1-2 in Miami kind of got to keep you there at 18. They get St. Louis and Washington, 2 teams they should beat to maybe keep the train moving above 500. Then the Red Sox, they go 4-3, but wasn't really a good week for them in my eyes. So that's why they're moving down 3. But they can easily move right back up because all these teams from 17 to 10 really are pretty much jumbled up. And then that's why you see the Braves here. They keep moving up after their awful start. 2 series wins last week. The one in Arizona was a great win. winning the game where Eugenio Suarez hits 4 home runs. It's pretty hard to top that. And they get the Rockies on the road, then return home to face the Dodgers this weekend. 11 through 15, like I'm saying, all these teams are within a game or a game and a half of each other. So you can rank all these teams wherever. But the Rays and the Royals are the big winners this week. Rays move up 10 after sweeping the Padres on the road after, they couldn't lose at home. Then before that, you go to Arizona and take two of three and go 5-1. You're back to 500. Return home against the Royals and then go to the Bronx this weekend. So it's a big week for the Rays to keep that momentum if this team wants to compete this year. Same for the Royals. I know it was a little easier of a challenge against the Rockies, but it's good for them to get back to almost 500. Now they hit the road. And like I said, that Tampa Kansas City series is going to be a great series early in the week. And then you have the Astros at 15, swept Toronto, go on the road, face Kansas City, and lose two of three, get Detroit at home, and then they face the White Sox on the road. The Astros defense has been the big question mark for them. Altuve's still struggling in the outfield. Cam Smith is, just kind of we'll figure it out as he goes kind of thing in defense, and I think that's going to cost the Astros in the long run. But for right now, they're still playing some good baseball. This team normally hits their stride June, July, and then never looks back. So the Astros just floating around 500 is not surprising. The Diamondbacks fall out of the top 10 after two series loss at home to Tampa and Atlanta. You could make the argument Tampa over Arizona here. Give Arizona some credit for what they've done so far in the season. That's why I have them at 12. And then the Guardians stay put at 11. Take a series win against the Yankees, lose a series against Boston. It's tough when both of those teams come to town, so staying at 11 is very fair. 6 through 10. You got the Mariners jumping into the top 10 for the first time this year after two series wins against the Red Sox on the road and Miami. Rangers fall back one because of that. They lose two series against the Athletics and the Giants. Two series out west that, I thought they would at least win one of those, more or less the Athletics, but they get them at home this week. So it's a big week there, like I said, for the Athletics and the Rangers this early in the season. They're only separated by one game. Then you have two NL West teams, the Padres going from 1-7 after an awful week, lose a series in Detroit. They weren't the best team on the road this year, but at home they were until Tampa came to town and they got swept. And let's see how they respond this week against the Giants, who are at 8. That's a big series in the NL West to start the year. The Giants are playing some good ball, won 5 games last week, beat the Brewers 3 times, Texas twice. The Giants are a very interesting team because we know they didn't really do too much this offseason besides Willie Adames. He's struggling right now, but if he can figure it out, then I think this Giants lineup is going to be a legit contender come September. The Yankees at 6 move up one because their series win over Toronto, losing in Cleveland. I think Cleveland was doing some revenge last year in the playoffs. Obviously, they beat Cleveland to get to the World Series, and Cleveland took that a little personal this last weekend. And then the Yankees go to Baltimore and Tampa, and I think they really want to establish themselves in the AL East. They got to win both of those series. 1 through 5, probably some teams you didn't expect to be here at this point in the season, including the Cubs and the Tigers. The Mets go to 1 though after their 4-2 week, sweeping Philly at home, but losing on the road against Washington is questionable. So, you could put, I guess, the Cubs ahead of them, but they lost to Philly at home. And maybe the Tigers could be at 1 if you want to make that argument, but the unbiased in me got to keep them at 3, even though they did just sweep Baltimore and take a series at home against San Diego. But if the Tigers keep on winning series, it's kind of hard to not put them at number 1 because they do have the best record in the AL right now. The Phillies at 4, stay at 4 because, they probably would have fell out of top 5 if they didn't win that series in Chicago, but they did. So they stay at 4. And then the Dodgers, seems like after Tokyo, they just can't figure out the Cubs. Once again, the Cubs dominate the Dodgers in a high-scoring affairs both games. The Dodgers return home, beat Pittsburgh, no surprise there. Get Miami to start the week, should take care of business, and then go to Atlanta, which those two teams always play well. Obviously, it's always emotional for Freddie as well coming back home. And speaking of those Cubs, they get 6 games on the road against division opponents. They want to put themselves ahead of a lot of these teams in the NL Central. They got to start with the teams that are second or third, and that's the Brewers. If they can go in there, take 2 of 3, that's going to help the Cubs separate themselves just a little bit. But that's going to be it for my Week 5 power rankings. Check back next week to see where your favorite team ranks. But until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.